Greetings! This is Jason McGuire, the new superintendent of the Wingate School District. I'm excited to have this opportunity to present to you today the importance of planning and successfully passing a school bond for our school district. What an exciting time it is to be a part of WSD, and what a responsibility we have as leaders to impact change for our students for the present and for the future. Upon hire, you shared with me your concerns for the conditions of our school facilities. I share these same concerns with you. That's why I'm proposing that we put a school bond on the ballot this November in the amount of $78 million. With your help and leadership, I know that not only passing this bond will be a possibility, but a reality. To fund Wingate School District facilities, we must keep in mind what Richard Salmon said back in 2010. He said the Great Recession has resulted in a trend away from greater state responsibility for financing of capital facilities and has once again begun to shift increased funding for capital facilities to the localities. The inevitable result will likely be greater variance in the quality of educational facilities among school districts, with the poorer school districts being forced to rely on inadequate, obsolete, and outdated facilities. As leaders of WSD, we must do everything in our power to make sure that everything that we have in our school district for our students is adequate and does not become obsolete or outdated. That's why it is important to act now to make sure that we get this school bond passed in the amount of $78 million so that we can keep our students growing and thriving in a competitive world. To experience success in our school bond attempt, we must show leadership in the following 4 areas: strategic leadership, managerial leadership, external development leadership, and micro-political leadership. As superintendent, it's my responsibility to create a working relationship with you, the Board of Education, that will result in a shared vision for our district and lead our students into a changing 21st century system. It's also my responsibility to determine financial priorities in conjunction with you, the Board of Education, based on our strategic plan. Together, we must show great managerial leadership. We must create a collaborative budget process that aligns resources with district vision and strategic plan. As the superintendent, it is my commitment to you, the board, to work alongside you to create the best atmosphere and facilities for our students, and to make sure that we identify the plans for facility needs and carry them out. If we are to experience success, we must reach out to our community and develop them externally. This requires collaborative partnerships. We must work together to support our 21st century learning priorities of our students, and we must engage with county commissioners and community stakeholders, both internally and externally, in a shared responsibility for aligning support of district goals for student and school success. As local elected officials, I understand your obligations and responsibilities to your constituents, and I honor and respect those loyalties. That's why it is my responsibility as superintendent to reach out to the community members, internal and external stakeholders, to make them aware of the positive impacts that the school bond will have on our schools and our students, and the impacts that it will have for our community in the future. It is also my responsibility to communicate the impact of legal issues and how it will affect public education for the present and for the future. To do this, it is my job to reach out politically, economically, and to reach the social aspects and needs of groups in the community and the community at large for effective and responsive decision making. The general public may not understand why the state does not fully fund maintenance upkeep for school buildings and why it is the responsibility of the local school district to do so. We must make them realize that although not fair, the reality is that it is our responsibility as a school district and local citizens to support our school facilities and look out for the best interest of our students for both the present and the future. Although it would be wonderful for the state to fully fund our maintenance and school facility operations, that is simply not the case. In South Carolina, Section 59-71-30 gives authority to the operating school units authorized to issue general obligation bonds. These bonds must be approved by the citizens of the county and the area and must be issued within 3 years following the holding of the election. The county board wherein such operating school unit is located, if there is such, shall give its approval to the issuance of school bonds. The amount of money that we are asking the general public to fund is $78 million, and the concerns for our district are the following: leaking roofs, lack of classroom space due to overcrowding, poor infrastructure to accommodate technology requirements, and inferior athletic facilities that do not comply with Title IX requirements. The timeline for getting this on the ballot is, of course, this November, which gives us a little over 3 months to prepare for the upcoming election. If this school bond campaign is to be successful, it must start in the planning phases and with us as leaders. We must present a united front, and we must get the general public to realize that this campaign requires all of the following: total community involvement, campaign organization, a steering committee, media coordinator, community leaders, schools committee, youth committee, a speakers bureau, a finance committee, get out the vote campaign, campaign timelines, and of course, we must be able to answer all campaign questions. According to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and schoolclearinghouse.org, the following timelines should be used to successfully pass a school bond. 3 months prior to the election, the media committee drafts and submits a campaign budget to the finance committee. The finance committee begins raising the funds necessary to defray the cost of the promotional items for the referendum. The media committee completes all copy, artwork, slides, etc. for the production of promotional items. Community leaders quietly begin contacting prominent leaders in the community, opinion makers, and local politicians seeking their support. Explanation of the building program, its purpose, what it will mean to children is provided to each professional and support staff person. Each school's referendum committee develops its plan to promote the referendum. Each principal is in charge of this effort. The Get Out the Vote committee begins organizing at the precinct level. Voter registration is actively underway. 2 months prior to election, the following steps should be taken. The steering committee approves all campaign promotional items. The items are in the process of being produced. Each school submits a plan for its referendum activities to the overall school committee for approval. Copies of the slide presentation or videotape are ready for showing and speakers receive appropriate training. Phone numbers continue to be plugged into voter registration lists. And finally, the Finance Committee completes the fundraising drive. 5 weeks prior to the election, the following steps should be taken. The slide presentation begins in the community. Remember to schedule maximum exposure during the last 2 weeks of the campaign. Press Day is held for all local media representatives, high school newspaper editors, local college newspaper editors, and etc. Specific assignments are made and training begins for persons involved in the Get Out the Vote drive. The media plan is finalized and an accurate timetable established concerning the dissemination of appropriate promotional items. And finally, revise paid media schedule to reflect the funds that were raised. 4 weeks prior to the election, the following steps should be taken. Citizens on the media committee contact local businesses and ask if their changeable copy signs can be used the week prior to the election. Advertisers in local papers are contacted and asked if a copy of the referendum logo can be dropped into their already existing advertising copy the week prior to the election. Permission must be received from the newspaper prior to contacting advertisers. Signed permission slips are obtained from each advertiser before inserting logo. If radio spots are used, they should be written and taped. The decision to use radio spots should be weighed carefully. Spots do not begin playing until 3 or 4 days prior to the campaign, unless you are facing strong opposition. Newspaper ads are designed and the placement schedule is discussed with appropriate papers. 3 weeks prior to the election, the following steps should be taken. Breakfast for opinion leaders is held at all schools in the district. A meeting is scheduled with the Ministerial Association. Open houses for the public begin in all schools. Designate specific nights and show slide presentation. Careful evaluation of the locations for the showing of the presentation is made. Contacts are made in those areas targeted as yes precincts, not receiving saturation. 1 week prior to the election, the following steps should be taken. Campaign buttons can be worn. Billboards can be posted. Changeable copy signs are up. Posters in stores are on display. Yard signs are up. Ads in newspapers begin appearing. Undecided voters get a special mailing signed by an opinion leader in the community. Telephone survey is complete. Radio spots can begin. Telephone banks are established. Transportation system is organized, and precinct workers are trained. The night prior to the vote, telephone calls are made to all identified yes voters, urging them to vote. Transportation services, etc. are offered and times for pickup are scheduled. On the day of the vote, the Get Out the Vote campaign drive is in full swing. Reminder calls are made to yes voters who have not yet voted. The general public may ask why school bonds and why now. We must be able to convince them of the advantages of the bonding system. Those advantages are relative stability may be maintained in the tax levies necessary for construction. The tax burden is usually small enough each year so that it does not disturb the taxing plan for current expenditure revenue. Also, districts can bond a large enough amount to meet their building needs, whereas pay-as-you-go financing does not provide this. It will also provide school buildings and facilities necessary to operate new programs that could be obtained now when they're needed, as opposed to years from now. The generations of people who get to experience the benefit of these facilities will be the ones paying for them. And finally, in an inflation period, building costs may exceed interest costs. As a leadership team, I know that we will come together and unify under the common goal of getting the best for our students. To do this, we must follow these tips for successfully passing a school bond, which is building a foundation, organize and plan, establish a need, be honest and transparent, campaign, and focus on uncertainty and make sure we have answers to questions that may arise. Thank you for this opportunity to present to you today, and thank you for your continued support, commitment, and dedication to our students and staff of WSD. I look forward to working together with you on this project and leading change in our district and for our students.